Hi everyone, it's Tricia LaCroix. I am the founder of Sacred Uprising Conference and Institute. Sacred Uprising, that conference and institute, that is really a platform for us to empower people for their transformation of their lives. Whether that be their spirit, of course it's going to be their spirit, but also their physical lives and how they go about, and just abundance and success within their lives as people. I was on the phone this morning with my co-founder, and as I was talking to her, I was scrolling on Facebook, and something that came up was a post, a very raw and vulnerable post I made a year ago, and it was most likely the most vulnerable post that I've ever made. This post was about abandonment. I made it at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep all night, and I was going through intense pain on a situation of my life. And I'm going to read the post that I made, but because it helped so many people, and it also brought a healing that I desperately needed. And I knew that I needed this healing before I could call in the one, and the one whose name we now know as Charles. So I'm going to read this. It's a little bit long, but I think it will help a lot of people, as the post actually helped, and I was able to help some other people through it when I posted it a year ago. So here we go. You'd think I would have been used to it by now. Abandonment. My first experience with it started at an early age, a couple minutes old. My mother gave birth to me, and without her seeing me or holding me, I was given away. She went home to her 3 remaining children, telling them that I had died at birth. Many months later, before she and my biological father signed the papers officially giving me away, my mother came to my foster home to see me for the first time. She decided to keep me. At some point, I was allowed to be given back to my mother and continue a life of constant, severe, and unforgiving abandonment. A painful gift from my mother. Abandonment, mostly by my mother, but others as well. So you'd think I'd be used to it. You'd think I'd have a high tolerance for it, but I don't. It makes me cry. Sometimes it keeps me awake at night, haunting me, like tonight. My grandparents cut communication when I was 5, which hurt me. But it wasn't about me. It was because they could not handle my parents' radical religious beliefs. It wasn't until I was around 18 years old that I reunited with my grandma. I never got the opportunity to have a relationship with my grandfather, even though I went to college 20 minutes from his house. It took me most of my adulthood before I could forgive my grandfather for that. Until I was a teenager, I believed my biological father left my mother because he didn't want me. I recall being no more than 7 years old, crying because I believed I wasn't good enough to be wanted by him. It wasn't until he was on his deathbed that he explained his side of the story. When my parents disciplined, they believed the child needed to be cut away from the family. So I would be placed in my father's office many times for hours until he'd come in to tell me how I had sinned, quote Bible verses at me, and then take the rod that was behind his office door and spank me until I went limp. Then, and only then, would I be allowed back into the family. Abandonment equaled severe physical and emotional pain. Each time this happened, I was unloved, unworthy, undesirable, and I know this because my mother told me. My stepdad adopted me when I was in 4th grade, and my mother told me that same year that I didn't deserve my father's last name. Leaving my parents' church when I was 20 got me abandoned again by my parents. My religious mother told me that she should have gotten rid of me when she had a chance, when I was a baby. Yes, she said that, and I died a little that day. It's been a life of abandonment. In many forms, abandonment has a constant presence in my life. You'd think that since I experienced it over and over throughout my 48 years, I would have accepted it and moved on, but I can't. You'd think that I would have learned to wrap it around me like a warm blanket, but I don't. You'd think I would have acquired a taste for it, but it still tastes like poison, just like the first day they put it in my bottle. My mother and I don't speak, and I took my power back from her when she almost destroyed me for the last time in 2009, and I'm at peace with it. My life is better without her. However, since then, when I get abandoned, I am immediately taken back to where my mother took me in 2009. I relive every emotion I experienced on that fateful day. It's my own form of PTSD, another gift from my mother. My life experiences have made me strong, but not so much abandonment. It takes me back to an emotional place I'd rather not go. It triggers me. It weakens me. It makes me cry. When I feel it, I die a little again. It's the one area I don't heal easily from. It has affected my life in many ways. It raises its ugly head in several forms. I don't like it. I beat myself up because of it. I could have been better. I could have done more. I could have been more loving. I could have been prettier. I could have been sexier. I could have been smarter. I could have been more insightful. I could have been more patient. I could have been, why couldn't I just be good enough? I've overcome many things in my life, and I'm a powerful woman. I found joy and love within myself despite it all, and I have acceptance and love for myself. But not when abandonment asks me to dance. Then I am none of those things. Abandonment welcomed me into this world. It became my life partner of sorts. It leaves me cold. It makes me feel unsafe. I'm frightened of it. I have no control when it enters in the room. So when you leave me, it will take me years to heal. Years, 3 to be exact. I will go through immense pain to keep people in my life. I will suffer in silence. Tears and sobbing accompany the pain. I will scream it out. When it corners me, I will fight for my fucking life. That's typically when the screaming begins. I sometimes give this painful gift away to others. I will cut communication when I feel the abandonment pain so I can save myself. Cutting off communication is my self-inflicting pain. Maybe it's my form of cutting. The only person I have found peace in the abandonment with is my mother. The pain was so severe it left me with zero emotions regarding her. I don't hate her. I don't love her. Just compassion for her because she must have been so wounded from abandonment herself to have given me this painful gift just minutes into my life. Yes, abandonment is just like my twin and my soulmate. We were both born the same fateful day. I wish it had died at birth. I wrote that going through immense pain. I wrote that because I was at a point I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I knew I needed healing, and I knew this was something that I could not take with me into the next relationship. Abandonment was a destroyer of my life. It followed me, it held my hand, it tucked me in when I went to bed. It was something that was so, it was a severe part of myself that I detested, I hated, and I couldn't love. And I knew I needed healing. So what came from that post was not only an outpouring of people saying, me too. It was not only an outpouring of people wanting to know more about it, but it was an amazing experience where a friend of mine said, you need to try EMDR. I had no idea what it was. And so they talked to me about it, her and somebody that she knew. And what EMDR does, it is done by somebody who has a psychologist. What it does is when we get triggered about something, what it does, our brain builds a wall around it to protect us. But when something happens in our life that approaches that wall, we get triggered. And all of a sudden we flip out and we scream and yell, and all these types of things happen with that trigger. What EMDR does, it gently takes those walls and shakes them very gently and brings them down. So therefore the wall is gone and the trigger is no longer there. We can then look at what like abandonment for me, and I can actually look at it and not be afraid of it anymore. There are times that you need additional sessions for us to go through it just to kind of, take that smaller wall and bring that smaller wall down. but overall it's a really healing process. It was discovered by a psychologist, and I believe it was in San Francisco. She was in a huge fight with her brother, and I have no idea what the fight was about. And she went out to a forest preserve, and she was watching trees, the leaves shifting back and forth because it was a windy day. And as she was so focused on the emotion of the fight with her brother, she was staring at the leaves, and when she got up to walk away, she realized, oh my God, I don't feel this pain anymore. So what they've done in the past with EMDR, they'll take like the pendulum and swing it. So while you are focused on the pain that you're feeling, you watch it go back and forth, and what you find, all of a sudden, you don't feel that pain anymore. Now, most people who do EMDR, they have paddles in your hands. So you feel vibration in this one and this one, this one and this one, this one and this one. And it goes back and forth. Most sessions, you need about 4 to 8 sessions to heal from it. I was very fortunate to only need 1 session, and she said to me, you must have done a lot of inner work to get to this point that you only needed 1 session, and that's what had happened. I broke up with somebody that I had been dating that caused immense pain, and he was not a healer of me. He was a destroyer of everything that I thought I was and ever had been. It was an absolute destruction. And I decided I needed a year and a half, or a year at the time. I needed a year to heal. I needed a year to do inner work. I needed a year to rebuild myself and really transform who I was. And it wasn't that where I was bad or negative. It's that I knew that somebody was coming into my life, and I wanted to be worthy of that. I wanted to give that person what they were going to give me. I wanted to be worthy of that type of love. So I spent a year doing that. It ended up taking, at a year I was ready to start dating again, but it was a year and a half before Charles walked into my life, and I'm incredibly grateful that I went for EMDR about abandonment to get that final healing that I needed. And I want to kind of shift it a little bit here. At one point I said that the person that I dated, that he was my healer because he shook me up, and I had to go in, because healers just reflect back to what needs to be healed. But this is what I found. He wasn't my healer. I had to go and do inner work. My true healer is actually the man that's in my life, because love heals everything. And being in his presence, being in Charles's presence, living with him, receiving the love that I get from him, he is showing me my true magnificence. He is showing me who I truly am. He accepts me where I am, where others did not. The others wanted me to change. They told me, you say too many F-bombs, you can't do this, you shouldn't do that. How are you going to reach these people if you're this way? And I've always surrounded myself with people that showed me where my faults were, what they viewed as faults. Charles sees them as my strengths. One of the first things he said to me is, I want you to be exactly who you are. I don't want you to ever change. And that's the first man who has ever said that to me. And he proves that every single day. He proves that with his love. He shows me daily how worthy I am to be loved. He shows me daily that I am healed. He's my healer. Love from him heals me. Love from him calls me to not worry about abandonment, to know that I'm safe, to know who I am. And that is a love that I want everybody to find within, because I did find that within me going through that year and a half. And now I have a man that mirrors that back to me. So if I can really really ask you, if you have things now, for that you have triggers. If you have those things, and we all have those things in our life. EMDR, they use that a lot. In fact, most insurance companies cover it now because veterans use it. Because of war, they have PTSD, and so that's what EMDR works with. So if you have those things in your life that trigger you, that you just can't, you've done everything that you can, you've done your inner work, you've done what you can to get past that, find somebody on your insurance plan that offers EMDR. It will radically change your life like it did for me. It was amazing. The other thing is, love yourself. If somebody tells you that you are not worthy, that you need to change, that you should not stand in your truth and your light, and you should be something other than you're not, then they are not aligned with you. It doesn't make them a terrible person. It just means they're not aligned with you, and you should walk away. And I am very grateful that I walked away. I am very grateful that I am who I am. And had I not walked away, I would not have, it's not just a love of a lifetime, it's a love of an eternal love that's always been and always will be, where I am loved infinitely. I am loved without question. There's trust and there's love and there is power and there's strength and there's support between me and the man that I'm with. And that's what everybody deserves. Calling in the one is about calling in yourself. It's about finding that love within yourself for you, for everything that you are. It is the slow clap for even the things about yourself that nobody claps for. It's acceptance of your shadow, because even that is necessary. Even our shadow is necessary to be who we are and to love that as well. So I'm very grateful for those of you who are watching this and who will watch this later. Abandonment, it is, it's no longer my life partner. It is no longer something that tucks me into bed at night. There are times that I can feel it coming on, and I know how to control it now, but it no longer controls me. And no matter what you are trying to work through in your life, no matter what that may be, you can get through it as well. And EMDR is a wonderful, beautiful place to start. So thank you once again for watching, and we will be doing 2 videos tomorrow as I've advertised on Facebook. We will be doing a video with the beautiful Bliss, who will be talking about the conscious evolver. And then tomorrow night, I will be doing a video with Christopher, and he will be talking about the scientific prayer. So thank you so much. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I'll see you tomorrow.